Chapter 6, The Writings of Emrys Skinlaka. The master was born under the sign of the Churlswain at Dinselin, called Incel by the Sons of Fire, in the year of the werewolves. Warwolves drove back the children of the horse. His father was one of the ornaments of Hugh. In his youth, he was a battle-blooded warrior. He was a dashing leader into the thick of the fray, a dauntless captain in the heat of the battle. The bearer of the battle hammer was a great-hearted, valiant warrior. He stood stern and steadfast in the grim work of bloodletting, proud as the high-flying death eagle he stood. A dark doomsbird flew over the land when the daring hawk gave battle. Behind him, the sharp extractors of blood, the thrusting spears darting eagerly to the thrust. Like ripples across a pond, further and further spread the dying groans of doom-gathered men. The spear horde stood firm to protect the Vale of Tadwick. It was a testing time of manhood. Knightly men will read these words with a swelling heart. They will feel for the heroic brides of bloody spears, for the shattered shields and splintered hafts. The valiant captain of men sounds the red horn and sweeps over the fearsome foe like foaming seas. They were consumed by his bright burning breath, like the fierce bush flame raging through the brown bracken. The horse vaulting warriors rode in for the final assault. The patron of the blue-bound bard swept the foe before him, raising the red shield, holding high the sharp slashing sword, and jeweled with the ruby-red blood of warriors. It was a proud day for the ruler of the battle, the leader of strong, mail-clad spearmen, the scion of an illustrious race. Only real men know the exultation of victory. They cheered the battle chief irresistible in the war rush. His spears dismayed the bloodthirsting, frightening foreigners. He wielded the dreadful blade of battle, which tested the manliness of men. Those were brave days. Now only mean-minded, faint-hearted buffoons lampoon the heroes of renown. Where are the manly men? Where the chaste ladies? We were blameless for the outflowing tide of blood and entitled to the peace of the plow. The reward of the warrior is the tranquility of old age. The pillar of battle whose hands once wielded the hard, down-slashing swords, the dragon chief, is due the peace of aged infirmity. If he is found among the gentle women, is it of any account, for he has established his manhood before men. Thus spoke the master in the court of the king. I am a man who has never shirked his duty. I have stood fast in the fray. I have struck many a mighty blow. Am I any less qualified to speak on things of the spirit because I was what I was? I have stood at the gateway of the grave, and I have slept the sleep of inspiration. As my arm weakens, my spirit strengthens. I am no longer a man of war, but a man of peace. But I let no man say before me that I am a shirker at the manly test. I am no lesser a man now. Hear my words, and let your heart judge. If a man followed a sunbeam to its source, he would find the sun, and likewise, if he followed his mind, he would find the divine source from whence it came. From the high God flows the inspiring spark in men, which kindles the flame of wisdom, truth, and goodness. Likewise does the mind project its thoughts and plans, which are given form when expressed in words. When a man's thoughts come from a spiritual mind, they reflect the nature of the spirit above all spirits. When they are stimulated by desires, feelings, and urges, they reflect only the influence of matter on mind. Individual man is not a separate being cut off from all others, living isolated in his own enclosure. All things are in unity, and the thoughts and feelings of others, living or dead, pass through men like water through the gills of fish. No man is cut off from the free flow of life, which purposes to bring forth new forms of life, absorbing the old and outworn and replacing it with the new. Have faith, for this is the child of study and diligence. If, however, adopted by credulity or apathy, it becomes a useless thing. Faith is not an excuse, but an expression of hope. If made the refuge of the gullible, it is a thing of little moment. Faith is the spear of the wise and the crutch of the foolish. The king said to the master, "Why do you, who are of warrior estate, entertain uncouth and ignorant men? Some say you even prefer their company to that of the wise and highborn." The master replied, "Sire, I will tell you how a teacher greater than I dealt with such a question. In a land across the waters, a wealthy man gave a feast to which this great teacher was invited. As was the custom there, outside the feasting place was gathered a motley crowd of hanger-ons, drunkards, thieves, deceivers, and harlots. Now, when the prime feast was over, the teacher went and sat among the outsiders and talked to them in a manner to their understanding concerning uplifting things. Those within the disciples of this man were aggrieved because of this and sent out 2 men who said to the great teacher, "Tolerant master, is this a wise thing you do? The word of such doings will spread quickly, and when they hear of the company you keep, prudent men will shun you." The great man replied, "A worthy man never fails to do his duty wherever he may be, and what I am entails a duty to minister to such as these. As to my reputation, have I not taught that reputation is subservient to service? These, being God's children, are our brothers, yet their lives contain more problems unknown to you. Because you have no knowledge of the nature of their burden, you, considering yourselves wise, cannot disclaim understanding and sympathy. These sinners are openly guilty, but such honesty is capable of transmutation into shame and shame into remorse. Those within are clever enough to cover up their guilt, and their duplicity and dishonesty cannot lead to shame and remorse, for they believe only that they are more clever than those here. Suppose those within who despise these sinners were to stand forth stripped of this hypocritical overlay covering their sins. What do you think you would see? I tell you, the inner aspect of many of those within is more hideous than that of many here without. For those within have much and therefore should be above temptation. Yet I tell you that the man with most is often the most avaricious. The distortions of sin are not caused only by deeds done, but also by the suppressed wish and desire. I say to those who sit at the flesh pots, you covet the wealth of others. You envy the house of your wife, of your neighbor. Lewd thoughts burn in your minds when you gaze at the figures of women, so that your bodies lust after them. You practice deceit every day, wishing for wealth, position, and fame. The man who covets in his heart suffers as a thief, and she who lusts in her heart is a harlot. Those within heard these words, but held their peace and were silent. The master said to those who were beside them, "Their own hearts accuse them, for their hearts of the pure do not make such accusations. The impure cover the evil, polluting their hearts with hypocritical displays of righteousness. They hide their true thoughts by displaying loathsome for things their hearts long to do. They revile others for their sins, but this is hypocrisy. They hug their worldly reputations won by deceit, but were the mask to be torn aside, they would be seen as wallowers in the mire of secret sinful thoughts and hidden vices." One day the master went to the encampment of the idol worshippers and said to one there, "Why do you worship images of wood and stone?" The idol worshipper replied, "So that it will provide me with food and shelter and keep me from harm." The master said, "How can it do this when it cannot even move itself?" Said the idol worshiper, "Whom do you serve?" The master answered, "I serve the great God above all gods, who can feed his worshippers everywhere." Said the other, "See now, your own actions contradict your words, for if your God is everywhere, why have you left your home beyond the great forest to wander here?" The master replied, "I am not here to serve God alone, but also to serve you. I bring wholesome fare as a gift of comradeship." Wayfaring with some way tamers, the master looked into a pool with all its life and said, "What an imagination God has." They said to him, "You have been taught in the shadow of the great master and may gaze on that which casts the shadow, but how will it go with our children and their children who know only the shadow of a shadow?" The master said, "Behind every shadow there is substance. If you see a shadow, believe there is substance somewhere." There was a dyer with them, and he used the unripe berries of the buckthorn, which were for dyeing, as a purge. Dyer's greenweed gives a yellow dye, and wood mixed with this and lime gives a good green. The Waytamers had a night light, which they made by heating a few oyster shells in the fire until they became white. Then they heated them in a container with double their weight in brimstone for 3 hours until they became red. This made a light in the night. Many times the master spoke wise words, and his followers wrote them down, for he knew the ways of words. He said, "When the wind blows, it discovers every opening. Keep your eyes and ears fully open before marriage and half shut afterwards. Even a thief does not steal from his own neighbors. What does the wolf care if the sheepfold be destroyed? Progress is the creation of discontented people. A wise man learns to love the lovable and to hate the hateful, but more important is to know the difference. A man should behave towards his parents so that they have no anxiety except as to his health and confidence in the wisdom of his actions. No law whatsoever can ever unman a man of de-virtue a woman, or de-virtue a woman. For the way wenders the old laws holds good. It is said that he who kills another unlawfully, who steals or robs with violence or rapes or seduces a maid or matron shall be placed in a wicker cage with others and burnt. Now this does not apply, but he shall be hanged at the crossroad. It is not unlawful for a husband to kill his wife's seducer. It is unlawful to require that a wife shall lick ash off a spearhead to establish her virtue. The first God-given right of man was the right to maintain his family inviolate, and it is the duty of the rulers to uphold that right. The seven qualities of manliness are courage, fortitude, kindness, integrity, truthfulness, consideration, and protectiveness. A stranger accosted the master and said, "I don't like your methods." The master answered, "Is that so? Well, actually, I am not too satisfied with them myself. Tell me, how do you inspire men to live in harmony amongst themselves?" The stranger said, "I don't." Said the master, "I prefer the way I do it to the way you don't." The stranger said, "You are unbending in your teachings. Is it not wise to follow the path of moderation?" The master answered, "I am not interested in moderate faith or moderate goodness, modesty, honesty, or moderate virtue. There can be no moderation in things of vital importance. The moderate man is not for me. Would you eat a moderately fresh egg or want to live in a house that keeps out most of the wind and rain? Would you be satisfied with most of your wages or with moderate work for your servants? I am not a moderate man, but one who plants his standard firmly. A standard of moderate morality is no standard at all. Could any army of moderate fighting men secure the land? The master went on to say, "Man lives for two things, the acquisition of knowledge and skill and the refining of the spirit through experience. He who commands by his integrity is like the pole star, which remains constant while others revolve around it. To give you the essence of my teaching, I would say, let all your thoughts be wholly good." One asked of the master, "Who shall be our teachers?" The master replied, "They who by revitalizing the old wisdom of their forefathers in this land and adding to this new knowledge are suitable." When they are asked who should preach, he said, "He who should not preach what he desires others to practice is one to whom these practices are not normal. To learn without thinking is futile. To think without learning is profitless. Wisdom does not consist of what a man knows, but of recognizing the limits of his knowledge. Listen always, but speak seldom. Maintain silence when in doubt, and you will seldom get into trouble. trouble. Keep your eyes open, but forget what you should not have seen. Never gossip and shun all gossip mongers. The master was asked, how should a master deal with his servants? And he replied, promote those who are worthy and reward their loyalty, and train those who are incompetent. To know what is right and not to do it is cowardice. Wealth and station are desired by every man, but if these can be acquired or retained only to the detriment of his service to his creed, he must relinquish them. Poverty and subordination are disliked by all, but if they can be avoided only to the detriment of his creed, he must accept them with good grace. Become paladins among the people, making the words of these writings the cause you serve. The inspiration is divine, but the medium is human. In the past, the pure light of truth was concealed from the multitude of the people in riddles and a fog of jargon. Parables satisfied the people. Understanding. Religion degenerated because of its higher aspects. It was not understood by the mass of the people, and there was a fear of casting pearls before swine, hence the mysteries and the need for ceremonial images and symbols. People more readily worship representations of God because they cannot comprehend him and shirk the effort of trying to. God cannot be represented by things of this world to the understanding of the aristocratic soul. There are Adamites whose souls slumber within, and God-men who are the ultimate earthly beings. These are the mysteries held close and safeguarded by the Knights of Carowin, but which came to our master through Galwin of the White Hawk Crest and Gaulaland, the Summer Hawk. Also through Paladare of the Spears and Lancelot, he who carried the mystic spear of Lot. They who are ready will read these things with understanding. Words are mysterious things within which can be hidden profound things, but enlightenment does not come easily or from mere reading of what is written. Greatness declined during the Great Peace, when knights were lax and pleasure-seeking. Men forgot their past unity, and there were quarrels and rebellion. Peace is a fatal sickness to the sons of Britannia. It was said to their battle chief that he lost every lesser battle and won every big one. The art of the scribe came to Britain with the high-browed one who taught Gilladwin of Evran, who had 7 subscribes. He said to the king, this stranger art will make the Britons wiser and will improve their memories, for it is the very essence of memory which has been brought to this island. The king said, most wonderful, but while you may be prepared to bestow this, have you the ability to judge the worth of this art? Should not this be with another? The potter lacks the ability to judge the worth of his own pots, or the knight his own horse. Therefore, the ability to judge the usefulness of harm of this new thing should surely lie with another. Now you who are the master of letters have been so swayed by your affection for them that you endow them with powers quite the opposite of what they actually possess. For this new thing will not increase the range of memory, but will lead to forgetfulness in the mind of those who learn this strange art. It encourages men to cease to practice their memory. Are the legs of a horseman equal to those of a man who walks? With time, men will put their trust in writing, and these strange signs will discourage memory. They are not instruments of memory, but of reminding. Those who learn to read many things without proper instruction will then give an appearance of knowing many things of which they are in fact ignorant. They will be hard to get along with, since they will not be wise, but only appear so. So it was that the art of writing did not come easily to Britain, yet always there had been the letters on stone and brand sticks, but these were not for ordinary men. Give an ass oats, and he will run after thistles. Such is the nature of man, and never went out an ass that came home a horse. The king had imprisoned one of the master's followers, and when the master sought the king's ear, his retainers drove him off. He returned, but this time they turned loose the hunting dogs upon him. The master stood firm and made No move, saying in his heart that if God decreed that the hounds should maul him, so let it be. The hound stopped before him and refused to obey the urging of those who trained him. This filled the heart of the king with wonder, for he knew the nature of the dogs of Britain, and he released the prisoner. It was at this place that the master was challenged to produce his god. They said, "Though you decry our images, yet do we have likenesses of our gods, while you lack even this. Your words are no more than puffs of wind." The master said, "These are the words of the report. To few has the arm of God been revealed. Did it not shoot up before your eyes as a sapling from a staff? And did not the withered staff take root in alien soil? Even so will it be with my words. I heard the Spirit of God in the night watches saying, 'Go, carry my words of truth to the unbelievers, and it will be like the rain that ends the drought. My word shall strike deep into the fertile soil. Its beauty shall be like the holly tree. Its fragrance shall fill the land like the scent wafted from a new mown meadow. You, my servant, will plant a tree which shall shelter all nations. You shall show us the road, and I say, go a little way, and you will come to a fork in the road. Take the turn to the right. Go a while along this until you come to an inn. Pass this and take the next road bearing left. A little further along this road you will come to a village, and beyond this a lane to the left. A mile along this lane is a rise from whence you will see your destination ahead. A man who has been provided with this most complete directions possible from my intimate knowledge of the area may lose his way and become lost. Another man comes along later and is given exactly the same information, and he reaches his destination. No doubt the first man will revile his informant and seek to place blame wholly upon him, declaring the directions to have been misleading. The other will declare how comprehensive they were. My words direct those who listen with understanding along the road of man's destiny. This road will not change about and will always be there. Here, too, there is one who knows the road well and gives clear instructions. Yet some become lost while others get there safely. I am only the shower of the way, the light on the path I instruct all the same. I did not... Did I ever say to you that if you followed me, I would make every secret known and reveal every hidden mystery? I did not, for this is not for all men. Suppose a man was pierced in the breast with an arrow, and his friends were to summon a physician skilled in such matters. What if the man said, I will not have the arrow withdrawn until I know who fired it, from what manner of bow it came, whether the archer be fair or dark, short or tall? I would know his name and his tribe. I would want to know whether the arrow is fletched with feathers of a goose or a fowl. Such a man would die, and all his queries would serve him not one jot. The man's life would come to an end, but still the great question which is he overlooked would go unanswered. Why was the arrow fired? It is equally foolish to say, I will not accept the teachings of this man until I know from whence he came, who his father, what is his estate. Wow. A man wishes to know the land of Egypt is... All right. I'm going to stop there. It's a long one. I like it. Heavy duty.